Joining us now live from the Capitol, big day in the Capitol, the Pope Francis, about to address a joint session of Congress. Joining us now, Republican, 7th District, Virginia, Dave Brat. Dr. Brat, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, John, good to be on. Say hey to Barry for me, too.
Well, look, always good to have you on, Congressman. A big day today, Pope addressing a joint session of Congress. I know you guys are fired up. A little bit of a political football, though. What do you think of this whole thing?
I think in the long run, it's just great. I mean, the Pope coming, he almost stands for, Western Civ and all of the achievements we've made. And so there's little, political drama, football going on, like you say. But the big picture is that this country was made great by the Judeo-Christian tradition, the rule of law, and free markets. And so if he's coming and he's going to open a dialogue on all of that, I mean, I'm from an educational background, and so you can't do any better than that. And the other side, the far left in this country, they're putting in jeopardy the rule of law. They're putting in jeopardy the free markets. They're questioning all of this. When the Democrats got together last year at their convention, they wanted to get rid of the Pope's boss out of their own convention platform, meaning they wanted to strip God language out of their platform. And so this is a great day where we can reinvigorate both sides, go back to first principles, and get everybody playing together for the same team.
All right, highly exciting. Congressman, let's go to the Syrian refugee crisis. Obama administration now suggesting we take 200,000 Syrian refugees into the United States, many of them male, many of them young enough to fight for their homeland. But now we're finding out that up to 25 to 30% of these so-called refugees are not even from Syria. How does this make any sense at all for us?
Well, nothing makes sense, and that's what I was getting at. The rule of law matters, and so I think the Pope will address that and speak to that. He wants to encourage Christians to reach out in love toward our neighbors and help them, but you will never hear the Pope speak a word against the rule of law, and that comes way back from the Hebrews and the Good Book through and through. We started off with the rule of law front and central, and so we have to first vet all these folks coming across. But like you said, this thing is being used as a political football right now. Where if you really cared about the poor, you would have put free markets and the rule of law in place in these countries 20 years ago, like we did in some countries, and they'd be rich by now. And so right now we have to vet these folks like we ordinarily do. There's huge national security threats to us, to our kids, to our country moving forward, and everybody knows it. And so this is another one of President Obama's executive overreaches. Started with the amnesty a year ago, right when I came in. He did the unconstitutional amnesty and just almost snubbed the Congress by going around us on that one. He goes around us on EPA laws. He goes around us with the IRS investigations. He goes around us on the trade deal. And so this is just another executive overreach, and I just heard your prior speaker talking about judicial overreach, and you put that together, now we have executive overreach. The Congress needs to step up and start fighting back hard and soon, or we're going to lose some of these precious liberties we've won.
Congressman, is there anything that Congress is going to be able to do to stop Obama as it relates to how many of these refugees come into the United States?
Yeah, I think we're going to step up, and the people are the key. If the people get wind of what's going on, right, Congress needs to message, and that's the number one thing we can do, because the left does not want and cannot run on the idea that we're going to threaten national security. And when we show some of these folks who are coming across the border, the American people will be horrified. So that's the number one thing we can do. Whether our leadership will speak out dramatically on it, that I'm waiting to see, but I'm encouraging them at every step to do that.
Yesterday we had your colleague, Congressman Morgan Griffith, on. He predicted that there would be a vote on the floor to vacate the speakership, and that if that happened, he predicted that John Boehner would be out. Do you see it the same way?
I'm not sure. I think the Politico and some of the newspapers are saying up here that the Democrats will actually probably come across to rescue the speaker in that scenario. So it's not clear, but it doesn't really matter. Everybody's just got to act on principle and do what they're going to do. And so leadership has had a long time. Everyone's trying to act like it's this shiny object at budget time with Planned Parenthood or something. That's got very little to do with it. Everybody predicted a year ago we had the crown of us 1,700 pages to read in 2 days, right? We got jammed right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen this year? And I predicted the same thing a year ago, right? We're going to get jammed 1 week before Christmas. And so there's no shocker. I'm on the budget committee. The budget committee's work has been ignored. Then you go to appropriations. That's ignored. The key question for the press right now is who is in charge of the United States budget? And I'm not being flip. I seriously mean that. I'm on the budget committee for the Congress of the United States of America, and I don't know who at this point in time is in charge of the budget of the United States. Barbara Mikulski is in that room. We know that. She's encouraging all of this Planned Parenthood drama and all of this kind of thing. But those issues are not front and central in the budget process, and we should have debated them in regular order as we were promised. And so I just encourage folks, don't get lost in this Planned Parenthood shiny object thing. Look at what's really going on. Both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, want to break the budget caps. That's what this is all about. And we've known it for over a half a year. Leadership has said it. We said we're going to break the caps 4 or 5 months ago in the newspaper. And so we're going to break the caps. Why are you going to do that? So you can spend a ton of money, make K Street happy. That's the story, and so that's what we have to stand against.
So, Congressman, if you say you're asking the question, who's in charge of the budget process, who should be in charge of it?
Yeah, exactly, right. The budget committee, if you believe in the party system, the budget committee, we wrote a budget that balances in 10 years and does some good work. Our chairman, Tom Price, our Georgia, did great work, very transparent. Then it should go to appropriations, and then we should pass the appropriations bills. But everybody saw the writing on the wall. The appropriations numbers were getting too big, right, where they're going above the caps. And so then the leadership and political elites up here all say, hey, we need more money, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to live under a budget. In fact, we're running $450 billion deficit this year, and the deficits are going to go up to $1 trillion by 2025. And so every single year, the people get faked out, and I think this year they're not getting faked out. That's why you see Trump and Fiorina and Carson and Cruz, whatever the outsider classes. I think I saw something about 75% of the vote in some polls because the American people are just fed up with this continuous, just fiscal wreck up here in D.C., and they should be.
So, unfortunately, Dr. Brat, the prediction you made several months ago on our show is that we'd get to Christmas, the budget caps would go up, and there'd be a lot of hand-wringing. Is this whole Planned Parenthood thing just like a ruse to get everybody's eye off the ball?
Yeah.
And just
yes.
Is that all it is?
Yes, right. The budget's $3.5 trillion. That's the main game in town, right? That's where the power is. That's where the money is. Think a house of cards. What's it about? Is it about Planned Parenthood, or is it about massive power in a $3.5 trillion budget? I mean, anyone knows the answer to that. So at the end of the day, the press all unites, blames, a few conservatives to this, that, or the other thing. It's got nothing to do with it. This thing has been orchestrated for over a year. Over 3 or 4 months ago, Hal Rogers, the head of APROP, said, in quotes, we need more flexibility up here. That means we need more spending. There was no videos back then. There was no Planned Parenthood debate back then. The entire budget setup has been put in play by leadership, and so they need to get us out of it. They don't get to blame somebody at the end of the day over some little drama.
Congressman, I know you're short on time. Final question. Is the system rigged?
Yeah, of course it is, right? And that's what I'm getting at. The K Street influence on increasing the budget and spending is coming at the expense of the next generation of kids. So those with power, the system is rigged to help them, and it's at the expense of the kids who have no representation up here. And we got to do a better job of looking out for them. And I have to get up to my seat with the Pope right now, John, but thank you so much for getting me on.